first off, tell us who you are, give us your background, and how you got involved with Raising Harts.
Yes, hi. My name is Candice Hartford. I am a mom. I have 3 kids. I have twin boys that are 7, Keaton and Grady Hartford, and my daughter Isla, who's 5. And my twin boys are both on the spectrum. So basically got started with Raising Harts because I genuinely felt so isolated as I was a nurse before being a parent, and then as I became a mom, and then eventually became a special needs mom, it just changed my life. And coming from a background of wanting to help parents when they're in like a time of stress and in the NICU when they're really in a traumatic phase of their life, it only made sense that like I'm in a traumatic phase of my life. And as COVID hit in the last few years, we really just felt like I needed to bring a community together for my family. So selfishly started this, honestly, to bring people together. So I had friends that I could, who can understand my life a little bit. Yeah, and then my kids could. Yeah, my kids could get it. Like, I just wanted us all to be together. We should all know and be able to help each other.
And I'm Kaitlyn Litchfield. I am a photographer, and I came to be part of Raising Harts this summer when I participated in an event that Candice had put on at the Cohasset Sailing Club. And we had a rough summer with my son. He is my oldest boy. He is also autistic. And we showed up to this event, and my son Cam pointed at the sign. He said, "Look, Mom, we can go here." And I was like, it was really striking for me because I thought, how does he feel like we can't go anywhere? How does he feel like this is the only place he could be? And I went right up to Candice and I said, I'm here and I'm here to participate. And then
we literally have not stopped since.
Yeah. Joined at the hip.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, what is Raising Harts?
Yeah, so Raising Harts it's a community. So we're basically parents helping other parents. I wanted, when I was trying to think of, I guess, like a name of what this group would mean to me, I wanted it to be like all of us are raising our children together. We're not alone. And that's why we are Raising Harts. And what else was I going to say?
I don't know. I'll help you. So Raising Harts is... There's a couple of pillars of the organization, and the first one is a parent-to-parent or caregiver-to-caregiver mentorship program. So when your child is diagnosed with autism or, another neurodiversity, it's like you're in the ocean alone. And the point of this is to have a community. We're not doctors, we're not psychologists, we're parents that have been there. And there's something about this trusted community of parents that's it's like no other relationship. I mean, when you first have a baby, you say, well, what diapers do you use? Or what formula do you use? And it's the same thing. So where did you get your neuropsych done? Or, what does your IEP say? Yeah. And it's just parents to parents. And I mentor some moms that are newly diagnosed because I've been on this journey a while, but I actually just found myself a mentor from a woman that has a child that's older than mine. And so now I can learn to navigate like the next levels of school and things like that.
Because right now, you can go on Facebook, you can go on a million groups, you can certainly, connect with other people that are in a local area of yours. But this is really more about like genuine connection and genuine friendships that will be lifelong. My passion really too is that first beginning stage, because when I'll never forget being in the office of my pediatrician and knowing I was going to hear the words, but when they came out and said your son is autistic and our first goal for him will be to get to kindergarten, like the wind was sucked out of me. And then to find out a year later that his twin was diagnosed, it was like, wow, my life is going to change.
Yeah.
But
what does it mean? So then you can go to other parents and say, what does this mean for you?
Exactly. And I honestly it sucked the joy of parenting away from me for like a year. There was a lot of grief and a lot of crying and a lot of like just over fear, straight fear. And I look back now at these newer families. There's so many. I didn't even know there were so many. But there's no way I want anyone to feel like that again. Like I want someone to go, you're going to be okay. We're going to swoop you up. We're going to show you like the mom basics or the dad basics. Right.
And just kind of navigate through,
because-
like even just the acronyms, think about it. ADD, ADHD, ASD, SPD, ODD. See, it's like, oh my God, what do those mean? You know?
Right.
So
It's probably a lot of alphabet soup.
it's a lot of alphabet soup.
Yeah.
And just going in and saying, what does that mean? And not feeling like you have to call a doctor every time you want to say, what's an IEP mean? What does this mean? So just
it's a whole new vocabulary.
Yes.
And you're kind of in a group you never wanted to be in, but I want people to go, well, I kind of like my group.
Yeah, I like my friends.
I like my
and
group.
the way that we facilitate or to help make these connections is through the second pillar, which is events. And that's how I met Candice.
Yep.
And we do events throughout the year. We have like a sensory play in Hanover at Cheer Factor, and kids just go in and it's safe, and they can go in there and play. And then I met Candice at the sailing event.
We try to do like my goal, and when I first started, I was literally my husband and I left so many different playgrounds crying. And I would go to a playground and my son would be trying to scale the fence and go to the train tracks, or he would escape if someone left the door open. And all these other parents were having their coffee and seemingly looking so content while their child was playing. And I was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, I really wanted to find events that I can take my kids to. So I had to create them.
Yeah.
So it was about finding a venue that would support our group, that was safe, so that other parents can go knowing their kid's not going to bolt away, because that's a very common thing.
Mm-hmm.
And giving other people in public the awareness about that. So now when we have events, all the Raising Harts parents walk in. If it's their first one, they walk in stressed with their shoulders up.
Yeah.
And then they start to realize, I don't have to explain my kid here. Oh, my kid isn't going to leave. And that's what I love.
Yeah, it's
And
great
then,
to see.
Yeah, so it's about that safety portion.
Yes.
But also giving your kid an experience that maybe you're not going to sign your kid up for soccer for 16 weeks when they might not even get on the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are our realities.
So what's it been like getting an organization off in the post-pandemic world?
How much time do you have?
We've had a few organizations come in that, we've spread we've had organizations that have been around for 30 years on this podcast, some, 10, 5 years. There's been a couple who have been kind of post-pandemic, and their story's been really interesting.
I think it's, to be honest, I am not someone who's ever done a nonprofit before. I'm a nurse by background. So this was literally just something I thought would be something smaller than it already is. And so it actually I think people are really craving this. There's definitely a need for it.
It's like a tornado. It's sucking things in as it's
when
going.
When families hear about it, that part of it has really kind of been fast. People are like, oh my God, I need this so bad. Or, oh, my sister needs this so bad. Or my husband needs a group like this.
But it's and did you see how we did that together?
That was amazing.
But, so the organic part of it is the easy part. Getting people to be, seeing is believing. People show up to an event and they're like, oh my God, yes, I'm involved. It's the back end stuff of running a nonprofit that's the most challenging, like fundraising. How do we do that? Where do we go? How to appropriately ask for fundraising dollars?
How to be smart with social media?
How to be smart.
How to really, really get the word out? Like
in spreading the word and making the right connections. And I think there's a fear. There's a fear in the misstep of saying, oh, well, like we tried an event, oh, that didn't work. Or, we just want to, because we're a little bit perfectionists here, we want it to all be right. And but I think part of growing is failing. Right. I think it was like I was listening to a podcast once, and Denzel Washington said, you can fall, but always fall forward. Yeah. So always make sure you're moving forward. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that, just being really smart. And we were talking to a woman at an event, at a Marshfield Chamber event, and she said, make sure you are hyper-focused and lean. And I thought that was great advice.
We kind of keep repeating it to each other because our neurodiversity is that we're like in 8 million different ideas.
Yeah.
We want to run with them all at once.
Yeah. Like we can do 800 events in a year.
Right. And then we're like, frazzled. So now it's really about does it fit our mission?
Yes.
Does it really serve what we want it to serve?
And that's really cool because we're easily like, we can do all this. Nope. Back to one, back to focus. And that's been our 2023 thing so far. How many? 18 days in, we've been very focused.
Yes.
There's also that aspect of like the back end stuff of like
Yes.
nonprofits. People come in, hey, I want to work on this or that vision or that mission, and then they don't realize there's all this little
nuances and things like that. Like even,
filings, legal
filings and paperwork and getting our 501c3.
That was a huge
it was huge.
relief. That was one of the biggest things for me because I felt like it gave us validity.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do everything right. Like I wanted it to be very professional and it not to feel like it was, even though it was literally born in my living room, it was like, I don't want it to feel like that.
Yeah.
But I think, when you think about other entrepreneurs that start businesses, they always say like, it was so hard at the beginning. We worked nonstop. And that is genuinely, I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah. It's true. Whether you're a nonprofit or an inventor or whatever you do, it's those first years are a grind.
Just looking back on our stuff, getting that 501c3 letter is like the greatest day.
Yes. Oh, I got my fridge still. It's like been there for like, I'm like, oh, let's frame it, laminate it.
Yeah, she sent it to me. She's like, save this. Don't lose it.
I don't know where many things are, but that's one thing I know exactly where it is at all times.
My birth certificate, not so much.
Yeah, exactly. My passport, no idea.
No.
But it's interesting with that, like even having a 501 certification, Candice was able to raise, fill in the blank, how much money on Facebook for your birthday?
$2,600
because she had this verification. So now we can legitimately raise money. And that was like a big thing because we had some sponsors come in and said, well, are you certified yet? And we're like,
where's your letter?
We're there. We're almost there. We're just waiting.
Out of our control was, and the IRS was backed up. And so we were just, we're also organizing in our head, like, okay, who were those really amazing like donors that reached out to us that wanted to donate when we did get it? So we had them in a little pile over here. And then we had the personal donors that didn't really care much about that. And so just kind of being able to go back and like,
and staying organized in that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, organized.
So what are your roles within the organization?
Well, so I'm the director. I basically work on, planning the events and working on the mentorship program. So we're kind of coming up with the ideas. That's kind of my big role. Being part of the mentorship program is like my passion project because I feel like that's such a huge piece that's missing. When you first have a child that's diagnosed, whether they're 3 years old diagnosed or 12 years old diagnosed, that's where people kind of fall through the cracks. There are obviously a lot of doctors and stuff like that and therapists, but sometimes getting therapy is a huge wait list. Sometimes getting diagnosed is a huge wait list. And I just want to be that like, I want that program. I really think it's just going to be a huge deal for parents when they first get the diagnosis to at least we can pick them up a little bit and give them something to do while they're waiting or some direction. We're filling that gap between diagnosis and therapy. But yeah, that's my role.
Yeah. And I am vice president of the organization. And I kind of I support Candice in her role. And I like to be focused on events. I love that because that's where my child really struggles because, Cam doesn't really fit in certain, at the playground or but he really fits in with Raising Harts. And so I think that's important. And I am a very social person and I like to be out there. And so I do a lot of networking and I'm working on fundraising through my contacts. And of course, I take all the photos for Raising Harts and, we do social media and, it's really the two of us. So, we named the big things, but we also go to Staples and buy things. And we also, check all the emails and we're very basically a two-person show, team.
But we do have some help now. We're working on getting our board together and really solidifying that. So I think that will be, right now we're working on making our bones good.
Yeah.
That's important. So what's that 30, 60-second mission statement you give to people when you're out talking with them?
So Raising Harts is an amazing community, and we are parents helping other parents, and we support all families with neurodiverse children.
Yeah, and I always add like empowering parents, enriching families, and just like what do they say? Rising tides raises all boats, and we are that that force of good because it, like Candice had said, it's scary. It's scary. It's a lot of unknowns because if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. So you could meet my child and then meet Candice's kids and be like, how are they under that same diagnosis? Right. And so I think it's important to spread that acceptance and awareness.
And we do, I think we also will add that we try to stay positive. You know, there's a lot of, there's the reality of our life is hard. Mm-hmm. And it's not always perfect and it's not always positive, but our goal is to really make, people see that this can be, parenting can be fun and our children can have thriving lives.
Right. What are the organization's most urgent needs?
Oh boy.
Well, I think to solidify our board is a huge need. So we need to make sure we have our financial, planner kind of involved. We make sure we have a lawyer, an attorney involved, which we I think our goal is to really kind of solidify our board, to really make it grow quickly and efficiently. Because we have the plans and the ideas, and we need to be able to get it,
to execute
faster.
And I think our second need would be to, I always think fundraising should always be at the forefront of any nonprofit because that's how we run. Candice and I are 100% volunteers. We don't,
we have full-time jobs.
We both have full-time jobs. Yeah. And so this is our passion project together. And, there's so much that we can do. Yeah. We just need the financial backing to help do that. We have some amazing programs in the works and, our mentorship program. And that's, if we can get those two things to kind of jive together, I think watch out.
So if someone wants to learn more about Raising Harts, where can they go?
Yeah, so they're going to go right to raisingharts.com. You can easily see that there's a, if you want to join us as a volunteer or join us as a sponsor or as a, a business sponsor, any of those things, and we will get right back to you.
And it's Raising Harts, HARTS, which is Candice Hartford. So if you ever forget it, you can always remember that. And then you can follow us on social, #Raising Harts.
And Instagram is Raising Harts 143.
You mentioned volunteering. What's ways people can get involved in the organization?
Yes. Oh, boy. So volunteering is actually so much fun. I have people who've been volunteering so far this year have loved it. So we had a huge event at City Arena in Pembroke where we had potentially 100 families, and it ended up being 150 families come. So all our volunteers came to help set this up. We have a lot of people that come, honestly, to help, kind of be at the door because we need these kids to be safe. So we have volunteers for big events where we need to kind of keep everyone safe and corralled in. But we need volunteers to help us with the mentorship program, to help us manage our sailing event.
And then on April 1st, we are kicking off Autism Awareness Month with a gala at Black Rock Country Club in Hingham, and we are in the process of building a committee to help us just spread that word and get that going. And it's called the Hearts for Autism Gala.
You mentioned that event with 150 families. How are people finding you? Is it just
social
that
media.
network of families on the South Shore?
Social media. So there's a group that has been really helpful and friends I've made and right early on. It's called Parents on the South Shore of Children with ASD. And so we have used that group as well as the Raising Harts group to spread our events. So either on the website, on social media, but it's been a lot of word of mouth. So I still get emails and texts from random parents that are like, I heard about you from whatever, I need it in. Also, we've contacted all our local pediatricians, developmental pediatricians, and then I work at MGH, and then my boys go to the Lurie Center for Autism up in Lexington. So I've been able to kind of, utilize all of our local agencies, whether it's hospitals, pediatrician's office, the South Shore Autism Center has been a huge support, as well as OT and PT, whoever serves our kids, right? We basically had Sergeant Family Services. They've been able to spread our word too.
And then I, through my network, reach out through more business contacts. So it was on the Marshfield Chamber of Commerce, email blasts. And then I reached out to the superintendents of Marshfield schools and said, hey, can you put this in your newsletter? He's like, yeah. And I had texted this to Candice. I said, I just got a text message from a local mom saying, you going to the Raising Harts thing? Not knowing that I am involved. And I was so proud that she had no idea that I was involved. And she's like, I think I'm going to go to the Raising Harts thing. Are you going to go? I'm like, I'll be there. Yeah. And it was just, it was an empowering moment for us.
Very cool because now we're hearing even from the North Shore, where there's people on Western Mass that are like, gosh, I wish this was closer to me. And obviously we're like, oh gosh, we wish it was closer to you too, because just clearly the need is just everywhere.
Yeah.
And so for people that aren't on social media, I think our goal is to really kind of integrate through the school system so that people just know, like, hey, I don't know if you know this group, but here's the information, and people can come to us.
What's been the biggest challenge you guys have faced with the organization?
Well, we are new, so there's always those, hiccups along the way of we don't know what we don't know. And that's really hard to find out what you don't know, because what do you Google? What do you ask? What do you do? And so I think that leaning on our colleagues and our friends to be, very boldly honest.
One of the first things we've learned, like early on, was find the expert if we're not an expert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't try to be the expert. Go find the person and ask for help and take the help. I think too, just knowing what the next right step is really hard, because this is, Candice, I bet, could do, anything with NICU nursing with her eyes closed, but years and years of training. And I think eventually, we'll get there. We'll have our years behind us. And,
I think we're finding like our
voice
people.
and our place. And it's really hard.
And also finding like the doers out there, there's a lot of people that are so passionate about this. And there's a lot of people living this life but can't give us the time that it takes to put into this. So we need to use those people for what they're good at, and then use people that have the time to be on the back end business wise.
Yeah, and if your capacity is just to like us on Facebook, great.
Share
but
away.
If your capacity is to volunteer in an event, we'll take that too. Or maybe you want to be on the board. So just, it's okay if all you can do is like and share. That's huge for us.
Kind of on the flip side of that, what's been the most successful thing or rewarding thing so far?
Oh, boy.
Like, this is we like cry all the time because we go to events and we actually see like firsthand. Obviously, we see parents like give us a shaky hug and say thank you so genuinely. Or we see parents connecting and say, oh my gosh, I live in Milton, so do you? Oh, my kid's in the same grade. And like, I found someone, it's just really seeing these connections and these relationships really starting to build, and seeing the confidence of parents, and not just moms. Like, I really want to stress that it's dads too.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of dads within Raising Harts that, also have grieved the life they thought their child was going to have, and are starting to get excited now about showing up with their kid to do something. Maybe it's not Little League. Maybe it's sailing. Yeah. Maybe it's surfing. Maybe it's
just kind of breaking out of that mold of what's traditionally what are you supposed to do? Who cares?
And nothing's normal. I think that's what's kind of been a rewarding thing for us too, is that this is an inclusive thing. My daughter and your son and families are all encouraged to come. And it really feels good to see when you look back at this Halloween event and you see 700 people in one room, and you don't even know it's an autistic thing. It's just amazing. Kids and it's families.
So that's actually really important. What Candice just pointed on is that if your child is autistic and their sibling is not, everyone is welcome, because that's part of our awareness thing too. And, we want the siblings of children to say, oh yeah, we go to a Raising Harts, and it's not just, well, I don't have autism, I can't go, because that's the opposite of what we're trying to do. And it's really cool to see.
And now my daughter, who's 5, hangs out with her son who's 5, and so
they
can play,
bond.
but it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
What's that one thing that surprises people about the organization?
How fast it's grown.
And I also think that it's just the two of us, pretty much. People are like, wait, what? Where? You know what? Where do you find the time? We're like, well, we don't really sleep, and we just wake up and we do this and in between. And actually, Candice and I always talk in the car. Yeah. We're always going to another doctor's appointment, or she's on her way to work and I'm on my way to a photo shoot. And I'm like, I'm in the car. I have 9 minutes. What's the update? We like
to be busy and...
keeps you focused.
It really does.
It's really been fun. This has been something genuinely fun and good for our families. It's been beneficial for a lot. So I think people are kind of surprised, like, oh my gosh, this just started literally. Like, I remember going away with some friends in February saying, I want to start something. And then in March, like naming it, and then filing in like the end of April. Yeah. And then
when was the first event? Was it May?
I mean, I did some prior to like really, really starting, but we've had how many events so far? Like over 15.
So many events. And really it's been, call it May to January.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not talking like little events. I mean, we went sailing.
Yeah,
Like that's
big.
It's big. And we had this huge trick or treat event. And, you know, we had sensory Santa photos where it was, you know, Santa's a tough one because there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of lines and a lot of waiting. And you get 30 seconds with Santa. This was each child had as much time as they needed. They could come up. They didn't have to come up. They could wave from a distance. They could hug him. It didn't matter. And that was a partnership we did with Ware River Farm. And, you know, we're just,
so cool.
Candice and I are doers. So, you know, we're building it and the people are coming.
And before we wrap up, is there anything else you want our listeners to know about Raising Harts?
I mean, honestly, just share away. I want people to really see the beauty of it. If you want to come and see it, if you're ever curious, if you want to bring your kids, autism or not, or if they have like ADHD or whatever, it does not matter. I want people to really see it firsthand because it is actually like humanity at its best. And it's a feel-good thing. And it's something that I think will benefit all families to be a part of.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Jonathan.
Great.